Some reporters from Slate magazine had a brief conversation with Senator Dianne Feinstein in an elevator yesterday afternoon, and she apparently appeared confused on the matter of being absent from the Capitol for the past few months. When one reporter asked about what the response from her and her colleagues had been since her return, she said, "No, I haven't been gone. I haven't been gone. I've been here working." When the reporter asked if she meant working from home, she said, "No, I've been here. I've been here voting." Slate reporter Jim Newell asked the senator how she was feeling, and she said, "I'm feeling fine. I have a problem with the leg." And when another reporter asked what was wrong with it, she said, "Well, nothing that's anyone's concern but mine."
This comes as Senator John Fetterman also facing fire online for his questioning of Silicon Valley Bank executives on the Hill yesterday.
Is it staggering? Is it a staggering responsibility that the head of a bank could literally crash our economy? It's astonishing. That's like if you have, and they also realize is that now they have a guaranteed way to be saved by how, So isn't it appropriate that this kind of control should be more stricter to prevent this kind of thing from going? Or should we just go on and start bailing and sailing whoever bank, regardless of how their conduct is?
One Twitter user tweeted, "John Fetterman is incapable of speech or coherent thought." And look, that was real hard to listen to. I do think so. He's questioning important people there. I'm not sure it's not fair to make people answer questions that they don't even properly understand. That was very jumbled to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Extremely jumbled.
Maybe, I often feel like the congressional questioning is not well-tailored to get good responses. It's not very clear. It's being given by not very informed
it's usually tailored to get sound bites. That wasn't even tailored to do that.
Yeah, look, I guess my concern is less his delivery and more the substance of the questioning and his takeaway from the event, from the hearing. And the messaging that I saw going viral on the internet, I frankly didn't really see much. Maybe I'm sure conservative media was passing that around a lot. But what I saw going viral was his statement that he, quote, cannot in good conscience support a debt ceiling proposal that pushes people into poverty. That is the kind of clarion call, clear statement of an allyship with working class people against folks who say things like, we're not going to tax the rich. We're going to make you have work requirements to get social programs that are only available to the poor. Having a Congress member who, muddled, jumbled or not, is able to make a clear statement like, I stand with working class people, I think is going to get a lot of support.
And that's why he was able to make a clear statement if someone else writes it for him. Look, I respect that you substantially like and agree with his politics. That's totally fine. His difficulties in himself communicating, especially in that format. He shouldn't be the one questioning people. Let's say you had whoever you most want to get answers from Congress. Say it's the CEO of the rail company from East Palestine. There's no way you want him to be the lead question answer.
No, I don't. But also, he has a right and opportunity to ask the questions. Assuming it's a zero-sum game, I would say let somebody else have the bite of the apple. But if he's on whatever committee that gets whatever opportunity and however many minutes on the floor to ask questions, this is an interesting issue. Of course, he is not the most articulate representative in Congress right now. But there's a separate question of whether or not cognitively he is asking the right kinds of questions, whether or not just because it's coming out in a less good way, it's not worthwhile for him to be there and asking the questions. People have cast some aspersions about RFK Jr. and the way his voice sounds, and Michael Tracy was getting a lot of pushback from saying his voice is basically disqualifying to him running for office. There's an interesting kind of disability question here about whether or not we should have more visibility. As long as people are cognitively able to perform the job, I think that's a very serious question. But as long as you are cognitively able to perform the job and represent your constituents, whether or not we should be letting people have more leniency.
Well, it's up to the constituents to decide if they want to factor in these things.
I mean,
you
he
get
won.
Sure.
He won with people
You get the representative
knowing,
you want. So that's what they wanted, so that's what they get.
And I'll say this about him as well. He chose to expose himself in this exact same way and participate in a debate when a lot of people said, well, just hide yourself in public view and hope you can coast by. Don't expose the extent to which you are still recovering from this stroke. He did the debate. Many people here on this podcast said it was going to be the death knell of his campaign.
Yeah,
I
did not think people. I thought a lot of people who might have voted for him otherwise would not be able to vote for him after that performance, but I was wrong.
So again, millions of Americans are sitting here looking at this conversation about the debt ceiling. And you're hearing Republicans in lockstep. Marjorie Taylor Greene said recently on this show that this is not a revenue problem, it's a spending problem. And have said there's a hard line. We will not, under any circumstances, raise taxes on the rich. We've seen unprecedented levels of corporate profit. The rich have gotten 64% richer in the course of the pandemic when the rest of the country was suffering. But their hard line is we would rather cause a global economic crisis than to tax the rich 1 red cent. At the same time that they're saying that the poorest people in America are going to have to shoulder the burden for these cuts. And here comes John Fetterman saying, absolutely not. My red line is I will not in good conscience support a debt ceiling proposal that pushes people into poverty. And I think that if people are curious about why John Fetterman still has so much support and was able to win his election, it's because a lot of folks are not turning into hearings. What they do hear is that there's a guy in gym shorts who seems to be dogged in his defense of working class people.
What about Feinstein?
It's worrisome.
It seems from that, I read that whole Slate article, it looks like she was offered the opportunity to clarify that what she meant is, well, yes, she's been working and voting in the last few days since she returned to Washington, and that is not what the sentiment she described. She described as if she had not gone anywhere.
Yeah, what's disturbing, part of what's disturbing about it is this is far from the first piece of evidence that she is not there.
Yeah.
It's newsworthy because it's the first interview that we've gotten, sort of an interview, conversation that we've gotten since her return to Congress. Many people were really stunned by what her condition appeared to be as she was wheeled into Congress last week. She did vote for the judicial appointments that were being held up because of her absence, and she was able to, in a very mechanical, pat way, perform her responsibilities. But I do think that kind of a statement, which throws questions about her cognitive fitness, her situational awareness, are troubling, because that suggests that there is a puppet, not just that she's having communication issues, but that she is being puppeteered by staff members who maybe have an obligation to ring the alarm bell.
I think it's more than suggested at this point. I think it's pretty beyond any reasonable doubt been demonstrated over and over again by the accounts we get, her behavior in public, the things she says. It's a problem we have in our democracy that it is proven to be just really difficult to dislodge powerful figures who have served in office for a long, long time. What are your views on term limits, those kinds of things in general?
I think they're a good idea.
Yeah, so do I. Interesting. Okay. I expected a fight over that. Well, because I feel like I used to know, maybe it was in college, I was very passionate about term limits, and I would talk to liberals who were like, oh, I thought it was a good idea, but then I realized it would just be, it's a check on consensus building and because you learn to be an effective legislator over time, and so then when you're at the top of your game, you're going to get yanked out of it.
No, you should have incentives to cultivate the next generation. You shouldn't have the Democratic Party so willing to scuttle the careers of people like Julian Castro because he had the audacity to question Biden's cognitive fitness on the debate stage. They should have to need someone like Julian Castro who's demonstrated a certain charisma and charm and ability to break through onto the national stage. And shouldn't be treating these people like they're disposable.
Yeah, no, I heartily agree with that. All right, more Rising right after this.